Hey there, micro folks. This is Mr. Hooker. Today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite stuff: utility, behavioral economics. That's this next module. We're going to have some fun over these next two videos. So let's get right to work. So, the law of diminishing marginal utility. That states as consumption of a good or service goes up, the marginal utility obtained from each additional unit of the good or service goes down. The more of a good you consume in a given time period, basically, the less satisfaction you will get from that good. So if you think about pizza, beer, tacos, whatever, usually we look at food with this, but you can look at other goods. Um, let's go with pizza just to make it one good right now. You hadn't had pizza for a while, you order some pizza, you have that first slice. Now, first slice is great, right? That second slice, you dig in, it's good. It's not as good as that first slice was. So. And then you have a third slice, and that third slice, it's okay. And for some reason, you go back for a fourth slice. And that fourth slice is just, yeah. And so you realize that, yeah, your marginal utility is on a downward path. This is one of those things that basically determines that downward slope of a demand curve. You're not going to just keep buying a good, because at some point that diminishing marginal utility has kicked in. So this is one of those things that just explains that downward slope of the demand curve. Utility is the satisfaction one gets from consuming a good or service. We have marginal utility and we have total utility. It is not the same as usefulness. It is very subjective. We'll talk about that in a minute, and it is hard to quantify. I've seen a formula for it. It was like 3 lines long in an economic journal with economic journal print, so that tells you a lot. So we used a hypothetical unit called the util to measure utility, and that should let you know how subjective this thing is. So it's, we call it a util. So total utility and marginal utility. A util is 1 unit of satisfaction or pleasure. Total utility is the total amount of satisfaction overall. So what did you get from the whole, like if we're talking pizza, from the whole pizza? Slice 1 plus slice 2 plus slice 3 plus slice 4, right? Marginal utility is the extra satisfaction from 1 additional unit. So from slice 1 to slice 2, how much additional satisfaction did slice 2 give you? That is your marginal utility for slice 2. I don't care about slice 1. And I don't care what you think about slice 3 yet. All I want to know is how much additional satisfaction did slice 2 give you? That is your marginal utility for slice 2. That is marginal utility. So marginal utility is your change in total utility divided by the change in quantity. So here's the way that works out. In this one, we're looking at tacos. At 0, there's not going to be any marginal utility. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tacos by meal. Total utility, if we have 10 total utility for the first taco, 18 at the second, 24 at the third, 28 at the fourth, 30 for 5, 30 for 6, and 28 for 7. Your first taco provides you with 10 marginal utility. A marginal utility of 10, that is the difference between 0 and 10. The second one provides you with a marginal utility of 8. That is the difference between 18 and 10. The third, a marginal utility of 24. That is the difference between 24 and 18. The fourth provides you with 4. That is the difference between 28 and 24. The fifth with 30, with 2. That's the difference between 30 and 28. The sixth with 0, the difference between 30 and 30. And the seventh with -2, that's the difference between 28 and 30. So here on the right, marginal utility on the right bottom, marginal utility slope graphs as a downward sloping line. And then right top, you have total utility, which is upward sloping as long as marginal utility is positive, and then marginal utility gets, goes to zero and then goes negative. So total utility starts to fall. So, and then starts to fall when that happens. So some theories on consumer behavior. We do believe that we are all rational actors. We believe that we are rational people doing rational things. So we are rational behavior. We all have preferences. We have, everybody has their own preferences to do whatever they're going to do, but we all act also within a budget constraint given certain prices, so understand that as well. It's kind of crazy. They've created TV shows about this as well. Even if you win the lottery, you have a budget constraint, right? $400 million is still $400 million. Surround yourself with enough crazy people who don't care about you, and you will be without $400 million. And, How I Went Broke After Winning the Lottery is a TV show for a reason. So there that goes. So there is a utility maximizing rule. To get to consumer equilibrium, you will allocate your income so the last dollar spent on each product yields the same amount of extra utility, extra marginal utility. Let's put it that way. So algebraically put, the margin utility of A divided by the price of A is equal to the margin utility of B divided by the price of B, which is also going to be equal to the margin utility of C divided by the price of C, which is going to be equal to the margin utility of D divided by the price of D, on out till you get to the margin utility of Z equal to the price of Z for all goods that you consume. Okay? So you'll have some high price goods, rent, car payment, etc. Those should provide you with high utility. And you'll have some low price goods, a pack of gum, a piece of chocolate, right? They don't necessarily have to provide you with a lot of utility. They just have to be good, slightly good, not really good, just slightly good. So if it's $1, it has to provide you with $1 of marginal utility. If it's $500, it has to provide you with $500 of marginal utility. You're not going to pay $500 for something if it only provides you with $100 of marginal utility. You shouldn't. There'll be a lot of regret tomorrow if you do. So that's kind of how that goes. So a numerical example, utility maximizing combination of apple and oranges, obtainable with an income of $10. Apple has a price of $1. Oranges are $2. I don't know why the oranges are $2, but whatever. I guess people like oranges more than apples. I don't really know. Apple has a marginal utility. The apples have a marginal utility of 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So your margin utility per dollar spent is going to be the same as the margin utility because it's going to be that divided by 1. So 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Oranges have a marginal utility of 24, 20, 18, 16, 12, 6, and 4. You are going to half that to get your margin utility per dollar because they have a price of 2. So 12, 10, 9, 8, 6, 3, 2. You're going to look over, you have some matches. 10 and 10, 8 and 8, 6 and 6, 3 and 3. Those are your matches. Your first one for 10 and 10, that's $1 plus $4. That's only $5. A key thing to remember here, and don't do this in real life, but in an economics class, you are not maximizing you're not maximizing whatever, in this case utility, unless you spend every single dollar they give you. So that's $5. The second one, 8 and 8, that's $2 for apples and $8 for oranges. 2 plus 8 is 10. So that is your one, and that's why it's highlighted. But if we continue looking at 6 and 6, that's $4 for apples and $10 for oranges. That is more than you have in your budget. So therefore that is out. And therefore we know that 8 and 8 is where it is. So if you were doing it on your own, that's how you get there. So this is how they get there. The first apple, first orange, 10 and 10, 10 and 12. First apple, second orange, 10, 10. Second apple, third orange, 8, 9. The second apple, fourth orange is 8 and 8. And now you are out of money. So there you go. Utility maximization and the demand curve. Basic determinants of the individual's demand are your preferences and tastes. What is it you like? That's what you're going to buy. You're going to buy the stuff you like most, and that's where you're going to allocate your income. Also, income. How much money do you have to spend? And you will spend your money on the things you like. Also, price of other goods. So if other goods start to go down in price, and you start noticing that, you may look at it and go, how much do I like those cheap things? Those things are relatively less expensive now. Do I like them enough to start buying them? Maybe I start buying them a little bit more, and you may look at them for those things a little bit. So derive a demand curve. Price per orange is 2. We demanded 4. Price per orange is 1. We demand 6. So at $2, the quantity demanded is 4. At $1, quantity demanded is 6. So there is your demand curve for oranges. Income and substitution effects. Income affects the impact of a price change has on consumers' real income. So we talked about this a little bit in chapter 3. It's all about real income and purchasing power. So real income really is purchasing power. Don't think dollars, think stuff. What kind of stuff can you buy with your income? If the amount of stuff you can buy goes up, that means the prices have gone down. If the amount of stuff that you can buy has gone down, that means the prices have gone up. And that's basically the way that goes. Substitution effect, the impact of a price change has on a product's relative expensiveness. Is this good relatively cheaper or more expensive than other goods? Now, this can happen one of two ways. Either A, the price of the good you're looking at has changed, or B, the price of the good you're comparing it to has changed. So if you're talking apples and oranges, maybe the price of the orange has changed, or B, maybe the price of the apple has changed. Either way, that can make the price of the orange relatively less expensive or relatively more expensive. And so those are the ways that can happen, and people would then switch based on that relative expensiveness. Applications, extensions, new products. People don't really have a lot to go on with brand new products, and so you have to look at it and go, hey, how am I going to compare this? And so typically what you do if you have a brand new product out there is you compare it to something. One brand new product that came out, and this has been a while. I don't know why they still have this in. This is about 2 editions. They've got this one in there. The iPad. When the iPad came out, they had this whole thing, like some great stuff in there. The iPad made, they a bunch of businesses, and actually I worked at a college in Nebraska when this came out, and they did this. They just handed us iPads and said, this is going to make you way more productive. And we just looked at it like, yeah, whatever. But they had this grant to get iPads. So they just handed everybody iPads, and we just put them on our desk and left them there. And they were just like, yeah, this is going to be great. It'll be awesome. And nobody used them. And then they finally did iPad training, and people were like, oh, yeah, this will be great. So the maintenance staff, originally there was just like a lot, and studies have shown there was originally a lot of Angry Birds being played. And then they did some training, and like our maintenance staff learned how to use them, and they actually got way more productive with them, and they thought they were awesome then. And then for some of us that were teaching, we started using them a little bit and it was okay. For some of the rest of us, we were kind of like, it'll be okay. We don't really, it'll be somewhat okay and maybe not. And they told us you can either have an iPad or a computer. And so virtually everyone turned back in their iPad. And then they were upset because they had used the funds to buy the iPads and now nobody was using the iPads. So then they were like, okay, if you want an iPad, you can have it again. It was a disaster, but it was what it was. I think in the end it worked out all right, but it was about 3 years of terrible management of the program. But whatever. The diamond water paradox: you do not need diamonds to live. You must have water to live. Diamonds are very expensive. Water is extremely cheap. So the marginal utility of water is extremely low. The marginal utility of diamonds is extremely high. But if you don't have water, you will die. And then you won't care what the marginal utility of either one of them is. So let's be honest. Cash and non-cash gifts. I tell all of my students this, and then, I stay in touch with some of my former students, and one of them graduated UNC a year or two ago. Um, I was gonna send her a graduation gift, and I text her. I was like, "Look, you know me. You graduated. What kind of gift card do you want?" But basically, to raise utility for people, you should not give them just regular gifts. If you want to raise their utility, you should give them cash or gift cards, and general gift cards, not specific gift cards. Um, so just as general a gift card as you can give them. And so that is basically how that is. A lot of people want to say, but I know my friends and I know that they're going to appreciate this very specific gift I got them because I know them well. Chances are they won't. Odds are they would appreciate cash or a gift card better. So that increases utility. There is a tax for that. There's always a tax for something. Taxes that target particular products change consumer behavior. Excise taxes can upset a given consumer equilibrium. So the whole smoking tax thing, and a number of states have moved to the idea of taxing smokers to pay for Medicaid. So the margin, and they want to tax smokers, but they don't want smokers to quit. So the margin utility per dollar spent on each pack declines because of the tax, and consumers naturally shy away from certain products. So they get away from it, but they don't stop. That is it for Chapter 7. Up next is Chapter 8. We'll see you